What's going on, guys? Aarava here. Welcome back to another video for Let's Talk F1. This is the year-long series where I get to talk about real-life Formula 1 over the course of a season. Of course, right now we're doing car launches and the testing has started at Barcelona. Day one of the F1 2016 testing is underway right now. The cars are actually probably on track right now, or at least a few of them as I record this video. But we're going to start things off today with the Manor Racing car launch. The Mercedes-powered Manor car has launched and it is looking absolutely lovely. Let me know your opinions, guys, of the look of this car in the comments below. Do you like it? Do you not like it? Let me know all that good stuff in the comments below. But I really like the look of this. The livery is just to die for. It really, really works well with the car. The car as a whole, as a general kind of feeling, not looking at any details, as a whole, looks very nice and smooth, sleek. I'm really, really enjoying it. But as usual on this series, let's look at the details of this car and see what's going on this Manor car. So we're going to start off with this on-track picture of Pascal Wehrlein piloting the Manor car around Barcelona. We're going to start off with the front end there. You can see the nose, a very flat, wide platypus nose like the Mclaren car of last year when it launched, and the Ferrari of last year in 2015. So Manor going that's quite a simple kind of nose, very nice and smooth. Looks good on the car right now, but obviously like McLaren had last year, if you remember, they eventually went to the stubby nose in Austria where Fernando Alonso debuted the stubby nose and Jensen stuck with the kind of platypus nose. I think eventually Manor will probably move to the stubby nose, because although this nose looks very nice, it's not actually going to be that great for airflow. It's not like the Mercedes nose where they've kind of pushed it back and they can get some decent air underneath the car. This is quite, long and wide, and it's going to disrupt a lot of airflow underneath that. So eventually I hope they move to that stubby nose. In general, it's going to be very interesting to see how Manor develop over the course of the season. Obviously, if you remember last year, they really only had like maybe one or two major update hauls on their car, and that was about it due to the the kind of circumstances of how they operated last year and the funding they had. But this year, new sponsors, they've got backup from Mercedes in terms of the engine department. I'm hoping that we'll be able to see the car kind of evolve over the season, like properly. We'll actually be able to see some new kind of front wing details, some new nose details, just everywhere around the car. It's going to be interesting to see if we actually see some regular updates from them. Little note on the front wing, it's pretty much the same as they had in Abu Dhabi last season, so not going to really mention it too much more in this video. Obviously, throughout testing, they'll able to actually, they'll actually be able to put some spray on it and actually kind of get some data off it so they can try and maybe improve it for this season. It is pretty basic compared to most other front wings, so hopefully we'll be able to see some development. I mean, if you remember over the winter test period, Manor have hired a lot of ex-top engineers in terms of, engineers that were at Ferrari, Mercedes. So it's going to be very, very intriguing to see what they can all do when they put their minds together, and a little bit of new funding for this season. If we move towards the side pod of the car, just by the wing mirrors, you can see two little fins that are there beside the driver cockpit. That's very much kind of a trend now in Formula 1, especially you've seen Mercedes that kind of first debuted it in 2014, these little fins that just help the air move along, it affects the air a little bit more. They're basically like mini vortex generators, but just sideways on the edge of the actual cockpit, monocoque structure. But then we can actually see some proper vortex generators on the top of the side pod, three of them in fact there. Try to highlight them in a bit of a smaller green line so you can actually see the proper detail, so that will smoothen out and reattach flow to the top of that side pod there. And they've actually got a split upright. You can see where the 94 is. The 94 is actually split. The 4 is actually a little bit lower than the 9. It's actually a split upright. So instead of having one piece going up, they have two that kind of split out. Interestingly enough, none of them actually attach to the side pod. They actually just go up. So that will be interesting to see if they actually develop that eventually, because most teams like to actually bring it across and attach it to basically the side of the driver cockpit. So we're going to have to see about that. On the floor, if we moved underneath that 94, I've just highlighted a bit of a nice detailing on the actual front of the floor. And then as we move on to the back end, looking at the side pod very nice and tidy. I think from what I can see from pictures and just general look of it compared to last year's car, it does look like they've tightened up that rear end a little bit. And definitely the side pod inlets have looked a little bit sleeker than last year. Just looking at from front on pictures of last year compared to these on-track ones, I think it is a little bit sleeker, but don't take my word on it. But I think it looks like a little bit of kind of slimming down on that end. Obviously, with the Mercedes power unit now, obviously Mercedes will probably help them kind of package it a little bit better. Last year, they had the 2014 Ferrari engine, which actually, going off on a bit of a tangent, that's going to be a very interesting thing to see. Obviously, I think the Mercedes power unit is going to make the biggest difference to this car. Obviously, having the updated 2016 engine of the Mercedes power unit is going to be a big thing. Mercedes saying that all their customer teams will have the exact same engine as they do in their W07, so that's going to be very good to to see. And compared to a 2014 Ferrari engine, 2 years development, the Ferrari engine we know has been down on power to the Mercedes the entire time. It's going to be a big step up for them. Moving on to the rear end of the car, you can see on the rear wing end plate, you can see lots of streaks on the edge of that rear wing. Obviously, very much like the Mclaren car since they debuted it in 2014 Germany. And we got two nice kind of slot gaps like the Red Bull likes to run there, right underneath the Shazam logo. And then again, if you can just about see it on the exhaust, again, highlighted that Mickey Mouse structure. Manor have actually gone for an interesting thing. The Mickey Mouse, the actual two smaller wastegate tailpipes, aren't actually as close to the main one as I thought they would be. They're kind of actually separated a little bit. They've actually got some structure in between the two wastegates and the big one. You can see it right now on a kind of bit more of a zoomed in picture of the rear end. And again, you can see those strakes on the rear wing and also the slot gaps in the actual rear wing end plate. You can also see here in a bit more detail the actual uprights that are split, the 94, the 9 and the 4, and the vortex generators and the fins next to the driver cockpit there, a little bit more detail. And finally, the airbox in that split kind of way like the Mercedes was of last year. Obviously, the Mercedes has taken it to an extreme this year because they've got like a 4, maybe even a 6-chamber huge airbox. So yeah, guys, that's been all the detailing around the Manor racing car. Let me know, as usual, if you haven't done yet, about the car in the comments below. I want to know your opinions on the look of the car, the color scheme. What do you guys think of it? I really think it looks like a beautiful car. A lot of people on Twitter this morning saying that it definitely probably is for them the most, the best looking car on the field. And I have to kind of be inclined to agree with them. It looks correct. It really works well. The blue on the underside, the red on the top, it works well there. And as a whole, I'm quite excited for Manor car. I know on this channel I've made quite a few jokes about Manor racing in the past, but genuinely being a bit serious here, I'm actually quite looking forward to seeing how they develop. And with the Mercedes power unit, with all these new technical staff coming to the team, with a bit more of a grounded year this time compared to last year where it was a bit of a turmoil year for them at the beginning, I think it's going to be a very exciting year for Manor, and I really do hope they can do well. And I don't know, who knows, perhaps even score a point this year. That would be absolutely fantastic to see. But let me know what you guys think of that. Do you think they'll be able to score a point this year? Let me know in the comments below. But if you have enjoyed that video and found it informative, smash that like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you're new around here, then do get subscribed. Later today, I will be discussing the Red Bull, the Toro Rosso, the Force India, the Williams, and the Lotus. So stay tuned for that and get subscribed for that. I've been aarava. Hope you enjoyed the rest of the day. Hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time. Goodbye.